Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to ICIMECE 2020. My name is Dimas Hamka, Process Safety Engineer of PJB. On behalf of my team, Mr. Dadang, Mr. Hendy, and Mr. Hisyam, I will present our paper with the title Power Generation Fire Risk Evaluation Using House of Risk Method with an Asset Management Approach. Okay, I'll start with some news related to a fire accident. The risk of fire in power generation is the latest issue of concern to the electricity business. When it occurs, it's likely to have a significant impact or even catastrophe and affect the long-term business processes of the company. Several incidents of fire at power plant in the past 5 years, as you can see here, it happened in PLTU Indramayu, PLTU Suralaya, PLTU Jeneponto, and PLTU Pacitan, led to demands for an effective work program to prevent fire from occurring and also investing the company budget into firefighting infrastructure. The next question that arises is how to establish an appropriate prioritization policy for handling fire risk. Does the preventive policy adopt consider all aspects of the company's business processes? Another example is represented in this slide. In your right side, it's figure out the deficiencies of fire protection system. How can a fire incident be completely mitigated if the condition of our extinguishing water is contaminated with mud? Or how can we ensure the readiness of our fire pump while access to the fire pump house is limited, as you can see in the left side? All of these cases present the fact that a thorough analysis of aspects of company business processes is needed to get to the root of the problem, a list of preventive actions to be chosen, and their priorities as well. A review of previous research found that the method used has not considered the asset management aspect holistically and does not involve a risk agent as one of the potential risk rating calculation variables. Considering the limiting budget and resources, the risk agent in the HOR analysis will present how to prioritize fire prevention programs, while asset management considerations are needed to map all the overall risk inherent to the organization's business processes, in this case as an asset operator or service provider in the electricity business. Referring to the concept model of asset management introduced by the Institute of Asset Management, the asset management scope consists 6 pillars and 38 elements, with a pillar of organization and people as the enabler of asset management strategy derived from the organizational strategic plan, and together with asset decision making and asset knowledge, it will drive the asset life cycle, which with the guidance of risk and review activities will support the organizational strategic plan. The concept of asset management with 6 pillars and 38 elements will later be used as the basis for risk event in the HOR framework, which will then be determined through a series of workshops to determine the risk agent and the closeness of the correlation. Another definition of asset management is a process that connects asset owners, asset managers, and asset operators. Asset owners define the business values, company strategy, and company objectives in terms of cost, reliability, and risk. The asset manager defines the best way to achieve this goal and articulates it in a long-term asset plan. Asset operators execute plan in an efficient manner and feed asset and reliability data into the asset management processes. In this paper, these two asset management concepts are used to adjust the company's business processes as the object under study. The power plant company, that is the object of the research, acts as an asset service provider where each asset management decision becomes a recommendation to the asset manager and depend on the asset owner as the final decision maker. The long bureaucracy and limited authority of the asset service provider in asset management are hypothesized as supporting factor for the high risk of fire safety. What is HOR? HOR model, which is an integration of the failure model, modes, and effect analysis, as well known as FMEA, and his host of quality HOQ models to prioritize which risk agent should be handled first, to select the most effective action to reduce the potential risk posed by risk agents. Host of quality is a concept mapping that provides tools for planning and communication between divisions in a company. The concept of host of risk is an emphasis on preventive activities, which is in this case is to prioritize effort, reduce the chance of a risk event by reducing the chance of a risk agent occurring. In its formulation, the HOR also determines quantitatively how closely the relationship between the risk event and risk agent is, and sometimes it's found that several risk events arise from a single risk agent. The ultimate goal of the HOR method is to get the risk agent with the highest priority value and then determine what preventive actions are correlated with it. How does it work? In general, the HOR method modifies the HOQ model through two calculation stages. First is used to determine which risk agents are the top priority of preventive action. Second is prioritizing actions that are considered effective but with a reasonable commitment to budget and resources. Research method. At this stage, observation activities are carried out with the scope of fine risk assessment and study the business processes between asset service provider, asset manager, and asset owner as well. Problems are identified based on the result of observation and a review of the related literature to determine the objective of the study. The next step is to identify the risk contained in the business process covering the six pillars of asset management through a peer group discussion involving the authority having the company's jurisdictions. The result of the identification of business process risks are then followed by determining the risk events and risk agent along with the magnitude of the impact, the likelihood of the occurrence, and the closeness of the correlation between risk event and risk agents. Through a series of formulation, the RP value is finally calculated. The risk evaluation stage is then carried out to determine the risk rating and the risk priority based on the ARP value from the previous stage. That's all the HOR stage 1. Then, in the second phase of the HOR method, a risk response is carried out by identifying risk mitigation options and selecting a mitigation program based on priority calculations. The result of phase 2 will present recommendation as a guide for determining the company assets management policy. The result showed 41 risk events with 28 identified risk agents. Furthermore, 17 risk agents were chosen as a preventive measure, and finally, 8 proposed preventive action to reduce the probability of the occurrence of risk agents that can lead to business interruption, as you can see here. 17 risk agents and 8 proposed preventive action. And the conclusion, the use of HOR method to evaluate fire risk at the power plant proved to be very effective by presenting a series of fire prevention programs. The establishment of risk agent in the HOR will help find out which risk events have a high degree of occurrence and contain a high potential impact that will interrupt business through fire incident. Combined with business process activities that refer to ISO 55001 asset management standard, company management will find it easy to determine the prioritization of the pre-incentive program to reduce the level of fire risk. Based on the data analysis and calculation in this study, 17 risk agent and 8 risk mitigation as preventive action work program aim to asset operator. Further research is still needed in the context of being the owner and manager of related asset. Referring ISO 55001, asset owners have more power in determining objective strategies and investment policy both in the long term and in the range of annual intervals. Meanwhile, when acting as an asset manager, management has the flexibility to plan operation and maintenance and manage to budget. I think that's all. Thank you for your attention. Bye.